There is no doubt Assassin's Creed Valhalla is one of the most anticipated games of 2020, and the graphics show us it's one of the most gorgeous looking games that we've ever seen. Welcome to the GameCatcher channel, great to have you here. Please like, comment and subscribe. Let's get right into it. Alright, let's talk about combat. Now the combat is brutal, it's very visceral. You have dismemberment, you have decapitation. And historically Vikings used various weapons, and they also weaponized shields, so you can use your shield as a weapon. In this game you're encouraged to dual wield weapons. And if we look at which weapons you're going to get, well, the weapons we see in the trailer are various shields. There's a round shield, there's a tower shield, we see a flail, a spear, a bearded axe, a Dane axe, we see a longsword, various bows, we see long bows, short bows, we know you can throw axes, I imagine you can throw knives, and also you can dual wield two-handed weapons. So you could have a two-handed sword in one hand and a two-handed axe in the other. Now some weapons have synergies, they work well with other weapons. How that plays out we're going to have to see. But any weapon you have, any weapon you like, you can level up. And you can use them for quite some time, if not the entire game. So you don't have to be changing weapons. You go, I love these I love these weapons. I love having two shields. And you can just keep them and keep them and keep them and keep them. Now the loot box that we're used to, that's changed. A loot box system from Odyssey, from Origins. Instead we have new unique weapons and gear. And there's also been parkour improvements. They wanted to give you opportunities to have different types of assassination. And so you can parkour and you can jump and you can do various things. And also navigation puzzles will be returning in parkour. And that sounds, that's going to be good. You're going to be up there and you're going to be figuring things out. In terms of the hidden blades, yes, you have it. And Ivor was given this very early on in the game. Instead of hiding it, he decides to strap it onto the outside of his left arm. And this allows you to pull off one-hit kills. Now in Origins, you couldn't pull off one-hit kills with the blade, not unless you had a high enough level or a specific skill set. In Odyssey there was no hidden blade, and it only came back in the DLC. Now Ivor's not a trained assassin, he's a Viking, so his fighting style is very brutal and uniquely Viking. Now he's learned a specific technique, so with the right timing you can one-shot just about anybody, but it's going to take you some work to pull it off. It's not going to be just, oh, you hit the button here, oh, you hit the button here and it works. You're going to have to work this out and figure it out so you can actually use this. And if you look, you'll see there's gems on the outside of it, and the gems are actually a hint as to where this blade comes from. In one of the pictures there's this rope talking about weapons and hidden blades, and we see this one picture, there's a rope on your waist. You know what this is, if this is a grappling hook, I'm not sure. Is it for killing people? I'm not sure. Is it both? It could be. And social stealth is back in the game. And this is good. I like social stealth. So you can go in, you can blend into your surroundings, you can sit down with people, move with the same speed and characters, and it hides you from your enemies. And the hood now has a new characteristic. You can pull it up or pull it down in your own choice. And in-game it changes you from being stealthy and being an assassin and being Ivor the Viking. Now when it comes to gameplay, a lot of work has been taken on this, where the idea is they want to allow you to play the content you want to play. So you can focus on the narrative, or you can focus on building your settlement, or you can focus on side quests. It's entirely up to you. Now we know part of this obviously is raids and large-scale battles, and it includes assaults on fortifications, assaults on giant fortresses. They've promised huge battles on large battlefields. And part of the idea from Ubisoft is to surprise you. Even after dozens of hours of gameplay, they're going to do something to surprise you. Now they also use distractions to show areas to explore. You see something and it's like, oh, okay, I need to do something here. And when you have dialogue with other characters, you're not just having it to make some decision and then that's done and now you can get on with the game. The dialogue choices you make can be minor, major, they can have an effect later on down the line, they can have an effect immediately. Maybe you're going to get thrown out of Mercia, maybe people are going to come and try and kill you straight away, or maybe 10 hours later you're going to run into people who are going to try and do something because of your dialogue choice earlier in the game. It's cool that it's going to affect and it's going to change things. In terms of enemies, there's a lot of work that's been done on the enemies in the game, and there's 25 different enemy types. And also these enemies have their own AI, and so they work and interact with each other. When it comes to gods in the game, they want you to feel like you're swimming in the mythology. And when it comes to battling with gods, there's a rumor that you can fight them in dream sequences. So how that's going to work? It sounds kind of interesting. Obviously they figured it was a bit hard for you to suddenly fight Thor or fight someone while you're walking by a stream, but in a dream sequence, it kind of makes sense. Now when we look just at the Vikings themselves, the Viking Age gave shape to England as it is today. And it's ripe for a story, not just because of the Viking TV shows we see today, but because historically the Vikings helped give shape to England and the world as it is today. Ubisoft did a lot of work with historians on this game to try and make it as fair to Vikings and the Norse people as possible. And Ubisoft sent teams of guys to Norway, to England, to learn about the culture and to reflect it as accurately as they can. Part of the problem with the Dark Ages is there are not a lot of records. The Roman Empire had fallen, and there was a lot of conflict right across Europe because of this. New factions were setting up and asserting their own strength, and they didn't have the Romans there to keep them in check anymore. And the medieval era hadn't arrived yet. And also because the Romans had fallen, there was a lot of hate for the Roman Empire. And so a lot of Roman things were cast off and thrown away. And so in this game you're stuck right between the fall of the Great Roman Empire and the Middle Ages. But people lived and people do what they do, and there's a lot of cultural exchange and caring for your family and conflict, rebuilding areas, having ambitions and moving these forward as much as you can. And England at the time was also quite multi-ethnic. We had Britons, we had Roman descendants that had survived, we had Anglo-Saxons, and the Vikings actually played a big role in rebuilding England. I mean, historically, yes, at this time, the time of this game, we had Alfred the Great, but realize that later we also had a Viking king of England, Canute. So to say, well, Alfred the Great kicked them out and founded England as England, well, that's true, but the Vikings also came back and took over the entire Isle. But then after Canute, they didn't last long after Canute. Soon after that was the Battle of Hastings in 1066, and England was then taken over by the French. But at the time of this game, Britain was wealthy and divided, and there was a lot of rivalry between the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. So it was perfect for the Vikings to come in and take advantage, and they did. But a lot of Viking history, most of Viking history is archaeological. And also, who was keeping records? Well, the Anglo-Saxons were. So we've got these records from the victims here. Saga and myths were passed down through oral traditions, and throughout England the Vikings were demonized. But it doesn't mean they were all evil. They were here for 300 years. I mean, the first invasion from the Vikings in England was in 793, and you arrive 873, so it's 80 years later. But also realize the Vikings were explorers. Around the year 1000, they went and discovered America, and there's been Viking settlements discovered in Canada. And they know they came over, and then they killed some Indians. And the Indians didn't like them and threw them out. And then they developed trade with the Indians. We, in Europe and in America, we say, well, Christopher Columbus discovered America. No, but that was 400 or 500 years after the Vikings had discovered America. The truth is, Columbus opened up America to Europe and helped destroy the cultures in America and the people there. But the Vikings also, they didn't just travel to England, they didn't just travel to America. We know they went down to Greece, we know they went across into China, so there was a lot of exploration happening from these Vikings. And when they first came to England, part of the problem was they came in longships, and the Saxons didn't know how to stop them and what to do, because these longship raiding parties would just come along, they would turn up, and they would just decimate villages, or they would come in and they actually like to come in and tear into churches. because churches had goods, they had gold, they had other things in them that were not really protected and easy to take. And so sure, they would kill these people, and they had not a lot of respect for the gods that we had, and we didn't have any respect for their gods either, so that sort of goes both ways. So in terms of the Vikings integrating, it's all about settling. It's about integrating into society. It's about trading with people and building these relationships. And you're going to have a chance to really get that idea and feel that, and feel what it's like to live in the Dark Ages in England. And part of that is also going to include dynamic weather. And you're going to have times where the sun is shining and then you get this torrential downpour. And this happens in England, and it happens because we're an island. In terms of modern day, it's been confirmed the story continues with the same storyline of Layla from Origins and Odyssey. But Ubisoft have said they've blended present day in a new way, and present day is playable. So how it's playable, what this new way is, we're going to have to find out. But there's also more backstory hinted on the first civilization. In terms of Easter eggs, there's going to be Easter eggs, but they said they're not going to have cheap Easter eggs. It's not going to be like, oh, there's writing on the wall from one of the other characters. But the Easter eggs have been designed to connect together and to be meaningful, to make it so you have to kind of understand these Easter eggs and how they are and what they mean and what they do. When we talk about game development, they've really tried to combine different successful traits from the different games. They've looked over all of the Assassin's Creed games and gone, what was successful from this? What did people like from this game? What do people not like from this game? And they've tried to take the good traits from all of them together and push the bad traits out. The big question is, when do we expect to see actual gameplay? It's going to be Ubisoft Forward, which is July the 12th. Obviously this year E3 has been cancelled, but with July the 12th happening and Ubisoft Forward, we're actually going to get gameplay footage, and we're actually going to see how this plays out. So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be fantastic. Alright, that's what I have for you today. This is going to be one of the best games of 2020. Holiday 2020 is the release date. I wish I could say I look forward to seeing you in game. Instead, I guess, we're all going to have fun playing this game. We're all going to have fun building our settlements. Please like, comment, subscribe and share. And click on the bell for notifications. That's all from GameCatcher. See you in the next one.